All right, good morning. It's Tush coming at you. It's Saturday, November the 2nd, just coming up to 7 a.m. And we're out in the garage pretty early this morning. Pretty excited. I've gone a little crazy again, bought another project. Unfortunately for you four-wheel fans, it's not a four-wheel project, it is a two-wheel project. So kind of an hour and a half drive north this morning. I bought this project actually last weekend, so I've had an excruciating week of waiting all week. I was actually out west traveling and couldn't really do anything about it, so had to wait a week to pick this up. So today's the day, so I am pretty excited. I'm not going to tell you what I'm picking up, other than the fact that it's a motorcycle. I'll give you some time to think about, maybe not necessarily the make of motorcycle. Well, you can think about that if you like. But what type of motorcycle? Is it going to be like an adventure touring bike? Is it going to be a full touring bike, a sport touring bike, a cruiser? Who knows? Anyway, I'll take you along the way. So look who I found this morning on my way to go pick up the motorcycle. Say hello. Everybody's wondering where you are. They think you're dead.
I'm not dead, I'm here.
Or you're on like a deserted island or something like that.
Okay, that was for the summer, extended summer.
When are you coming back?
Soon, there's videos coming soon. I'm working on a project now. I'm not gonna tell you which one, but I'm working on it. I have video, just have to edit it and upload it. So soon.
Okay, I'll tell you what project he's working on later, once he's gone. Okay, you ready to see the motorcycle? Because I told him I was going to get a motorcycle, but I didn't know, I wasn't going to tell him what it was until I got home. Because they're supposed to guess. So it's still in the trailer. Here's your first look at it. It's not clean yet, so went through some rain showers. So anyway, here it is. Big unveil. All right, probably not what you expected. 2002 BMW R1150 RT. Anyway, we'll get it off the trailer. I got to return the trailer. So just a really quick walk around on the trailer. Got some nice color match bags on it. Nice aftermarket seat. Got some ugly looking stickers on it that are going to come off quickly. Other than that, it's not too bad a condition for the year. Being almost 20 years old. So we'll get it off the trailer in the garage, and then we'll have a little bit more of a chat about it. All right, talk to you later. See ya. All right, guys, just about 3:30, and we're about to start working on cleaning the bike. I went up and bought some cleaning stuff, special for the bike, and I removed the luggage to make that task a little bit easier. So that's what the bike looks like without the luggage. So after I do some cleaning, I'm probably going to spend about, I don't know, 2-3 hours cleaning this thing, get it looking a little bit better before I do kind of an overview video of it. So I'll be back in a little while and see if this thing shines up a little bit better. All right, good morning, guys. Tush coming at you. It's Sunday, November the 3rd, and it's 7 a.m. and we are continuing on the bike cleanup project this morning. I got a lot done yesterday afternoon. Probably spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours on it, so it's looking much better, 100% better than it did. Just even getting the rims cleaned up, etc., makes a huge difference on this bike. And the rims, I don't think it'd probably be cleaned probably for 3 or 4 years based on the amount of grunge that was on them. Cleaned the exhaust up a little bit too. Got it back to looking a little shinier. Still need to do some work on that, but I think what we're going to concentrate on today is we're going to concentrate on removing stickers. There are some crazy stickers on the luggage, for example, that I don't want on here. So we are going to carefully remove these, probably with a heat gun, a little bit of heat, and probably some Goo Gone to get off the residue. So that's what the plan is for today before I hopefully am able to wheel it out in the driveway and give you a full reveal and walk around the bike. So anyway, definitely getting towards winter here. It's 1 degree Celsius this morning outside, so yeah, that's about, I don't know, 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Leaves are off the trees and on the ground now, so need to get out here and do some raking. Frost on the vehicles this morning. Anyway, Again, we're probably going to see snow fairly soon up here. We've got some leaves still hanging on these trees. Magnolia's still got a few leaves, but for the most part, everything is on the ground. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll get back to working on the bike. We'll shut ourselves in and maybe turn on the heat in here, although it's fairly comfortable at the moment because I had the garage door shut. So it's about, I don't know, 43 degrees Fahrenheit, about 6 degrees Celsius. So comfortable enough to work in. Anyway, back to work. All right, all the crazy stickers are off, except for I felt a little bit bad about taking the Canadian flag off, but I didn't like where it was, so I can always reapply that. The only thing I didn't take off were the GoPro mounts. They look like they're going to be quite tricky to get off, so they're going to stay on there for now. Who knows, I might utilize those in the future, we'll see, but everything else as far as stickers are off the bike except for factory stickers. So that's looking good. So I think what we'll do now is we'll give it a quick wax job. Okay, I'm going to attempt to do my first repair on this bike, first actual repair versus just cleaning. So I've got a problem with the kickstand, or the side stand, and here's the problem. So it actually interferes with your ability to shift. Can't get your foot down below the shifter. This actually should be up almost against the fairing. Well, it should be up here so you can get your foot straight across. This actually, I think, protects the fairing a little bit from foot wear. So this somehow has gotten bent along the way. It looks like the previous owner actually drove it like this and never bothered to fix it. Based on the wear on the top of this, it looks like his foot was here, so maybe he had really small feet, but it's not going to work for me. This is definitely in the way. So this definitely needs to be bent up towards the fairing. So I've got my little turbo torch out. We're going to heat this up and see if we can bend it without melting any plastic. All right, another quick little job done on the bike. So we've got it bent up to where it should be with some clearance on the fairing on the inside. I didn't bend it up too tightly. I probably could have gone a little bit more, but I think that's good there. I think what we'll do is we'll just let it cool off a bit. Maybe we'll scrub it up a little bit with a Scotch-Brite. Then we'll give it a quick coat of primer. We'll mask off the springs, give it a quick coat of black, and make it look a little bit better. While we're there. Alright guys, I've got the bike cleaned up enough that I'm going to do a quick walk around and talk a little bit about the bike. I'm not a BMW expert by any means. I'm not a motorcycle expert by any means. And a lot of this I've just learned over the past week or two while I was looking for a bike, or it actually took me about a month to actually get this bike, between going back and forth between the previous owner and his travel schedule and my travel schedule, and anyway, it finally worked out for me. So this is a 2002 BMW R1150 RT. There you go. This was produced from 2001 to 2004. Its predecessor was the R1100 RT, and the generation after this, which started in 2005, is the R1200 RT. So I think the biggest difference between the 1100 RT and the 1150 RT visually is probably the front headlight. I think the headlight looks better on the 1150 than the 1100 in my opinion, but I'm sure some 1100 owners would probably argue with me on that point. Alright, so it's a twin boxer engine, as you can see. 1130 cc, so 69 cubic inch. It's air and oil cooled. The earlier bikes, way prior to this, were originally air cooled twins. They were called airheads. This is oil and air cooled. This is called an oil head. And the later ones are, I believe, oil and water cooled, and they're called wet heads. So there's some BMW terminology for you. So this is from a horsepower perspective, this is 95 horsepower, which is pretty incredible considering that most of my Triumph line is 104 horsepower. So to have a bike with 95 horsepower is pretty incredible. It is a fuel injected bike. It's got 72 foot-pounds of torque. It's a 6-speed gearbox. It's shaft drive, which again is going to be nice, not having to deal with a chain like I have on my current bike. There's the shaft drive back there. It's pretty technologically advanced. It's got ABS brakes on it, so integrated ABS brakes, so it doesn't matter whether you're pushing the foot pedal or the gear lever, the brakes are linked, so it will activate the brakes together, both front and rear. So although it sounds like a good thing to have on this bike, they can also cause a lot of issues, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. But the reason why I've got this bike is it does have an actual problem with the braking system on it. So I purchased this bike knowing that, and obviously there's potential to spend large amounts of money on this bike to get it fixed properly. If the ABS pump goes, I believe the ABS pump alone is $2,700. And of course, there would be, I mean, if you couldn't work on your bike, there would be some installation charges involved there as well. But I'll talk a little bit more about that afterwards. Like I mentioned, why I got this bike so cheaply. I don't know if you can tell, but it's actually starting to snow. So we'll continue on. So from a suspension perspective, it's got a interesting suspension setup. It's got a telelever front suspension with a central spring. It's got a rear paralever swing arm with a central spring as well. It's got a variable setting on it, so we'll be playing around with that sooner or later, I'm sure, once we get a chance to ride this bike. Wet weight for this bike, so with a full fuel tank, it is 615 pounds, which isn't too bad considering that I think my drifter, my 800 drifter, I think is about 600 pounds. So this bike is significantly larger. 25.2 liter fuel tank, which is equivalent to 6.6 US gallons. It's supposed to be pretty good on fuel. It's supposed to get about 45 miles to the gallon. Quarter mile times of 12.5 seconds, so it's pretty quick. Top speed is 127 miles an hour or 205 kilometers per hour, and it does a 0 to 60 of 4.3 seconds. So other things on this bike, it does actually have, as I mentioned, the ABS. It does actually have heated grips, so it's got a 2-setting heated grips that's controlled by that switch there. It's actually got a power screen, which is kind of interesting. So power windscreen, just this button here. So that's quite nice, quite a nice option to have. So powered windscreen. Turn that back off. It doesn't have a sound system. It does have speakers. The sound system would normally go into this pocket here. I think they had optional CD systems or tape decks or radio systems. I'm not interested in having one of those, so that's not a worry to me that it doesn't have it. So it does have a nice aftermarket Sargent seat on here. So that looks quite nice. They're quite expensive, so I'm happy to have that. It obviously has the matched luggage, which I believe was an option only on the US bikes. This originally was a US bike. I think it was sold in Ohio and then made its way up here to Canada. The bike actually has 61,272 miles on it, so just under 100,000 kilometers. So it's not real high mileage. I've seen some bikes with closer to 200,000 kilometers on them. So, but if these bikes I think are well maintained and you look after the issues or the known issues, I think these bikes can go for quite a long time. Anyway, maybe I'll give you a quick look with the bags off, and then maybe we'll give it a quick startup before I push it back in the garage and get out of the snow. So the bags are quite nice and quite big on this bike, and you can actually get, I think, smaller lids if you want. I think they're called city lids, which are a little narrower if you just wanted to have a narrower bag. But these are great for traveling, obviously, if you're doing a long trip or a weekend trip, etc. These bags will come in handy, and that's really why I've got the bike, to be able to do some longer trip or some weekend trips. So basically, to get the bags off the bike, it's a simple turn the key, lift the handle, basically lift up, and basically the cases come off. put them in the garage. So we'll just remove all the cases, and then we'll give you a quick look at the bike without the cases installed. Okay, just a quick look at the bike with the cases uninstalled, or I guess the panniers if you want to call them. I prefer to say cases, a little bit easier. So it looks a lot different, a lot more streamlined, a lot more sporty. Good looking bike. Some people might like it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I like the look of it. So there it is without the cases installed. Alright, let's do a start. And it's going to be a cold start. It's cold out here. Okay, as mentioned, I bought this bike at a good price, and I bought it as somewhat of a project because there was a bit of an unknown with the braking system. All I knew is that it had an issue based on the startup sequence, and I'll show you that now. So if I turn the key here, you're going to see the brake warning lights come on, or the general warning light and the brake light. So here we go. So it's going to do a self-test. This light extinguishes. This light will actually go out as you ride away once the wheel speed sensors pick up. But you see here it reverts back to this alternating flashing lights. That means I have low fluid. So it potentially means I have low fluid in the ABS system, or in the pump. The reservoir in the pump is low on fluid. So let me just turn this off for a second. We'll talk about that. So I knew I had this issue, and that, I mean, this could be a many number of things in the system, and I'm going to go through the entire braking system and replace all the lines and the brake pads, etc. Flush the system of fluid. So that's really one of the major projects that I have to do on this. But the funny thing is, as I was cleaning, and I recognized after looking up what that alternating flashing light meant, I started looking for how I could be losing brake fluid. One way you can lose it if you've actually tipped the bike on its side, if you've, let's say, crashed it, actually fluid can run out. So that's one reason why you can have a low fluid warning. Second is if your brake pads are worn, apparently you can drop the fluid down enough that it'll actually set off the sensor for that, and you'll get the warning light as well. So those are two potential issues. And then I started thinking, well, could also be brake lines. So having a quick look around, I was here with my buddy Sean yesterday, we actually found that when we applied the brake lever, we could actually see a little bit of fluid coming out of this brake line back here at this banjo fitting. So we've got a break in the brake line back here. So it might just be as simple as replacing all the lines to fix that brake error. So that would be something else if that is as easy to fix as that. It's going to cost a little bit of money to get it fixed, but potentially, as mentioned, I mean, this could have been a serious problem. As mentioned, the ABS pump is about $2,700 US just for the pump, not to mention the installation of that pump. Now, something I could do myself, I could probably extract the pump and put a new pump in if need be, but I definitely didn't want to go there. A lot of the owners of these bikes, because the ABS is a little temperamental from what I've read, there are procedures to actually remove the ABS entirely from this bike, and that was going to be one of my options if I couldn't figure out what was wrong with the current ABS system on the bike. So anyway, let's have a startup. All right, I'm not sure how much of my video captured of my previous attempt at doing a startup video, but when I looked at the camera, the screen was black, so I'm not sure if the camera shut off by itself or I didn't press the record button. But anyway, let's do it again. So choke button over here, so slide for choke. So it is a little bit warm now, so I probably won't need much choke, but we'll start with the choke anyway. Obviously key to turn on here. There's our ignition. Let it go through our brake check, which we know it's going to fail. It's in neutral, obviously. Start button. Should idle about 1100 RPM without the choke. There's choke off. Here it is on idle. Sounds pretty good. Fuel is extremely old. Probably 3 years old in this bike. It smells. You can smell it in the exhaust. I can smell the fuel in the tank. So that really should be drained. Unfortunately, it's got probably about a half a tank in there. So a digital display here, gas gauge, oil temperature on the left-hand side, gear indicator, and a clock, which is kind of nice. So other than that, not much up on the dash. This is a headlight adjustment. So basically turn left or right. This is a fog light. I've got one fog light actually out on the left-hand side. You can see here, right-hand side works. That's the only light that's out on the bike, so we'll have to get that fixed at some point. So, other than that, from a controls perspective, I already mentioned the heated grips here. Turn signals are a little strange on BMWs versus normal bikes, or at least I think they are. We have an individual turn switch for left and right turn signals. This is a cancel button for those. Then it's got high and low beam here on the headlight, and a flash button as well. I already mentioned the power windscreen. There you go again with the power windscreen. Pretty cool. Another thing that's a little different on these bikes are the underslung, I'm going to say underslung mirrors. The mirrors are usually up on top or up on top of the bars. So this is going to be interesting using those. So, yeah. Oh, it does have a, they call them throttle meister. This is a cruise control. So it's basically twist cruise control on the end of the bars. Hydraulic clutch on these. There you go. Give it a little bit of a rev up. Definitely not a Harley. Alright, I think that's it. We'll put her back in the garage, and like I said, we'll order some parts for it, and we'll start to work on those that brake ABS issue. We'll get some new brake pads for it, some new brake lines, some brake fluid, and we'll have a session in the future where we take the plastics, or the Tupperware as they call it. We'll take the whole fairing off this bike so we can actually get to the ABS pump, which is in the center of the bike under the tank. So that'll be interesting once we get to that stage, taking all the plastics off. It's not a hard job. It might be a little tedious, but I guess once you do it once or twice, you can go pretty quickly. Alright guys, that's it for now. So there's my little introduction to the 2002 BMW R1150 RT. Looking forward to riding it in the spring. Thanks for watching.